Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard Bitter Lovers by Tash Sultana and BJ the Chicago Kid yet, but yo!
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. the human Johnstown Flood, a.k.a. Nate 3.0. Back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I am joined for a chat by Andrew Huston. Andrew's got a great new album out there called Outward Kid, and we talk about that and a bunch more, and that is coming up in a minute. But first, what's up, gang? You know, I don't know if I've said it in a while, but I just want to send out all of the thanks and love in the world for all the kind words about the past few episodes that I've received. You know, from listeners old and listeners new. It means a whole heck of a lot, and I'm glad that anything I've put out there has entertained even one of you. You know, I love hearing feedback, so please feel free to reach out and shoot me a note. Many ways to do that. You know, you can hit us up on the socials at Yo, That's My Jawn. We're on them all, so whatever your favorite social is, whatever your social of choice is, hit us up at Yo, That's My Jawn. You can also email us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com if you're old like me and you still email people. You know, I mentioned this at the end of the show during the credits that I know all of you skip. I skip it myself, but you can leave us a voice message by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. You know, you leave one of those and maybe I'll play it on the podcast. Who knows? There's many ways to reach out. And of course, if you're not on it already, sign up for the mailing list. There's a link to do so in the show notes of this very episode. Or you can visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com and you put your email there and that little pop-up that comes up and boom, we are instant friends and all of the updates of the show are delivered straight into your inbox. You don't have to do anything at all after that. You just sit back and you get them updates. So what are you waiting for? Do it to it. All right, we're going to take a quick break and then my interview with Andrew Huston. Yo, That's My Jawn is brought to you by Liquid IV. Guys, it is festival season. And you know me, I love a festival. And the secret to enjoying a festival is to stay hydrated. Liquid IV has you covered while you prep before, power through to the headliner, and recover after the weekend. Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. Man, I love Liquid IV. It comes in a convenient packaging and it's tasty. When you see me at the Exponential Music Festival this fall, you know that I will have Liquid IV on me. And it comes in 12 delicious, refreshing flavors to keep your hydration routine exciting. All right, strawberry used to be my favorite, but they have this new one. It's strawberry lemonade and it is a banger. 1 stick of Liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. It's non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. So Liquid IV partners with leading organizations for innovative solutions to help communities protect both their water and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries around the world. Okay, and you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the promo code YTMJ at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code YTMJ at liquidiv.com. Do it, and let's get our fests on. My guest today is a Philly-based singer-songwriter who has cut his teeth in area bands such as the Tisberries, Calico, and the Describers, just to name a few. On July 14th, he released his fourth full-length album, Outward Kid, a 10-song collection that, in his words, draws on, quote, learning how to deal with death, finding the positives in grieving, and growing into life rather than trying to dull it. And it features contributions from Tyler Assay and Doug Keller of the Tisberries. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show, Andrew Huston. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Andrew Huston. Andrew, thank you for joining me on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for this conversation. The new album, Outward Kid, is phenomenal, and I can't wait to get to talk to you about it and all that good stuff. But before we even get to any of that, let's I always like to jump in the Wayback Machine, and let's hear a little bit about where you grew up. Tell me a little bit about a childhood Andrew.
Okay, so I'm from Bucks County, Langhorne area. I grew up there, went to Neshaminy High School. And I moved to Philly. I went to Westchester University for school, which is where I've met a lot of my good core friends that I have now. And I've been living in Philadelphia now for the past 6 years, I believe. Okay.
All right. What years were you in Westchester? I used to hang out there. I didn't go to school there, but I hung
So
out.
I went to school there from 2012 to 2016.
Okay. A little after. I'm an old man. I don't know why I thought I was. We used to, but I had a acoustic duo. We were called the Impact Players, and
oh, nice.
We used to play the Kildares in Westchester all the time.
Okay.
Back in the day, and
cool.
Then, 15 North, and then when that became whatever it became after 15 North, we played a bunch. That was our old hang.
Nice, that's awesome, man. I think when I went there, the main place to play music was Fenario Coffee House.
Okay,
if you're familiar with there, but I remember that going to the open mic there and doing smaller local music shows there and whatnot, which was cool.
Well, that's awesome. So when you were a kid, what kind of music was playing around the house?
Well, first of all, my dad, I think probably he introduced me to Led Zeppelin and the Doors and the classic rock stuff. I think my mom is actually the first person who told me to listen to Nirvana. I remember her being like, you should check them out. I think you would really like them.
It's so funny. My mom was the one who turned me on to Nirvana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, my parents have good taste in music. So I think that definitely plays into the stuff that I listen to today.
Yeah.
For sure.
What, were you into music a lot as a kid or?
Oh, yeah. I started playing the drums when I was 11 or 12, I think. And from that point on, my basement has always been God bless my parents because the walls were shaking every day, every night. My friend, my house was the jam spot, so my parents would let my friends bring over all their instruments and stuff and kind of just let us rock out, do our thing in the basement. So
that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I always respect about, especially drummer parents, but the parents of the person who had the jam spot because my buddy Scott was our drummer and we were always just obnoxiously loud and not good, and they never once complained or yelled or anything,
I guess they went outside and tuned it out until we were done, and then I will forever be thankful to them for that, for sure.
Yeah. So you started playing at 11. Were you taking lessons or were you playing in school at all?
Yeah, I started out taking lessons from this guy Buddy Deppenschmidt. He's an old jazz drummer. So I started taking lessons from him, and he really helped me think differently about music and how to go about playing it and understanding it. But I did play. I was in the school band and stuff like that, the marching band and whatnot. So
me too.
All around, I was jamming with my friends at night, and then the next day I was at orchestra rehearsal or whatever.
That was actually how I ended up in marching band. Was we were playing we had like our rock band practice, and then like the drummer and the lead singer and one of the other guys was like, "Hey, we got to go," and I was like, "Where are you going?" And they're like, "Band camp starts tonight." I was like, "Well, what the hell is that?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're in marching band. Do you want to come?" And like they were like, he was like, "Maybe they'll give you like cymbals or something like that." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds good." And then I showed up, and they were like, "Do you have any background in music?" And I was like, "I played clarinet in 5th grade, and I played trumpet in 4th grade." And they were like, "Trumpet? Okay, here's a baritone." And they gave me a fucking big, huge, low brass baritone.
Hell yeah.
And then I played that for 2 years.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
It's like the best of both worlds, I remember like my band teacher becoming like incredibly frustrated with me because I would like never learn the wheel of thirds or whatever, like the music theory wheel. Like,
Yeah.
I can never fully grasp the concept, and it like drove me nuts.
Yeah. It's crazy though, but like I feel like being in marching band taught me so much about rhythm and tempo, just from like, and like I still catch myself sometimes when I'm playing shows marching in step, like because it's ingrained in there, Like.
Yep, man.
Do you ever have the I don't know how, I'm pretty sure Neshaminy had a pretty big marching band, right?
Yeah. I tried out for like their drum line or whatever, and I was on the drum line for a little bit, but I was kind of like a brat because I think I tried out and got the bass drum part, and I wanted to play the snare or something. So eventually I was like, screw this, like I'll go jam with my friends instead, like. But it is what it is.
The only reason I ask is because I'm 46 years old, and I still have nightmares that I don't know the drill, and there's a big competition. That's like
cadence.
Every time. Yeah, it's the worst. So when you guys were like playing in the band in high school, were you guys like playing parties and stuff like that? And
So I mean, I was in a band in high school. We didn't really play parties. We did like a lot of open mics, like in Philly. Like I remember coming up to World Cafe and playing the open mic there, and like thinking it was the coolest thing ever because I was like 16 or whatever. But I do remember playing at the Troc one time, and they made me sit out on the curb until it was time for me to play, because I think I was the only one that was like underage at the point. And they made me sit out on the curb until like the second it was time for me to play. And then I went in and played. And then the moment I was done there, like, all right, you got to get out. I was like,
that's
okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. That sounds like the truck. What type of music was that band?
That was like more alternative rock, like kind of hard rock-ish, but and like a blend of different genres.
Yeah. What what kind of drum influence did you have like when you were starting and all?
Drum influence. I mean, kind of like more. I always could appreciate the drummers that did more with less, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just like locked into the pocket. Like, I'm trying to think of my favorite. I mean, Questlove is like one of my favorite drummers. Just like anyone that can kind of fall into any genre and make it work is like an influence for me for sure.
Yeah, Quest is just. I mean, like it's a weird thing because I've been a fan of the Roots forever, and then like when they got the Jimmy Fallon show, I was like paranoid. Like I was like, no, these like what the hell and da 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 da. But really, like that show has to me kind of showed the entire world like just how versatile they are and how much they can just do anything. Like you throw anything at them and they can pull it off,
Yeah, for sure.
It's fantastic. Like I saw he put together this thing called Love from Philly, and it was like a classical piece. Or no, Love from Philly's G Love. Philly with Love. That was it. I think it was called. Nope, I'm never going to remember it. Philly Paris lockdown. It was a long time ago. But anyway, it was at the Kimmel Center, and it was like he reworked a classical piece and performed that. And it was one of those things I wish was like recorded and released so that I could just show somebody like,
Yeah.
okay, you talk about, hip hop, quote unquote, is talentless and da 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 da. Well, you peep this,
Yeah, exactly.
So you were playing like open mics and you playing at the truck and stuff like that. Did that band record anything?
Yeah, we did. That band was called Calico. And that fizzled out after a time. We did put out an EP. But I think it was at that point that like I was going to college, and then that kind of fell through. And then I met like a lot of my friends from college that I still play with currently today. I don't know if you know Tyler from the Tisberries.
Of course, that's a good pal. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like one of the first people I met in college. He actually was playing with my high school band for a while because there was like that overlap. He was playing bass in that band, and then we kind of branched off and started doing our own thing. I was playing with the Tisberries, drumming for the Tisberries for a few years, and then I started like writing my own music and then just sharing ideas with everybody, and then it's been that way ever since. Just we all appreciate and listen to each other's music and support each other, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like it's one of the things, and I told Tyler and Doug, like I admire how many different projects they have their hands in at any moment in time. Like
for
all
sure.
of you guys, and Jason as well.
Just
so many different things going on, and at no point, it's like, who are you tonight?
Exactly. Yeah, Doug and Tyler for a while there were wearing many different hats, and I was like, do you guys ever like take a break? Like, I remember talking to Doug. He's like, oh well, I have the describers practice on Sunday, and then I got this one, and then I'm doing a podcast on Tuesday. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, you guys, I feel like Doug especially is just like stuck in go mode, like always ready to gig and do whatever.
Yeah, and you never see the wear. Like, there's no wear whatsoever.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, that Doug is like a freaking robot. He's he always has the right tools for the job, if that makes sense. Like
100%.
He's one of the most reliable dudes. Like, if you're ever forgetting anything, like he's always going to have a backup, like have a spare to like let you borrow or something like that. So
yeah. So you were drumming with the Tisberries through like Wax Nostalgic, right?
Yeah. So up until the pandemic, I guess.
Yeah.
Right up until the pandemic, I was drumming with the Tisberries.
So then you make the pivot to you starting to create your own stuff. Were you writing the whole time, like previous to that, or?
Yeah. So I put my first EP out in 2017. Called Going Away, which is shortly after I moved to Philly. I started writing my own music like towards the end of college, I would say. And just like kind of realizing that I really do enjoy writing my own music and seeing it grow from start to finish. But yeah, I mean, I've been writing since college. Doug, actually, I met Doug. The first time I met Doug, he was preparing to play for my EP release, which was back in 2017. Tyler was just like, yeah, I know someone who can play the bass, and he's been playing with me ever since. So, it's just been fun to put out something, create a project, and then like immediately get started on the next thing.
Yeah,
it's a great release for me.
When so you were playing drums and stuff like that. When did guitar and all that enter the picture? Like, when did you start picking up other instruments?
So I think I started playing guitar when I was like 18.
Okay.
And it was more just like me playing guitar as a drummer, like very rhythm focused. I feel like I'm just now starting to like branch out into like trying to actually learn how to play the guitar. Um, but yeah, it's always been drums for the most part. But yeah, I started playing guitar, dabbling with a little bit of bass and whatnot. Just kind of any instrument I can dip my toes into. I'm there.
Yeah. What can you remember the first song you could play on guitar completely?
Yeah, so I actually it's funny that you say that because I had this conversation with somebody recently who's like the first, the generic songs you learn on guitar is like Deep Purple or like, old classic rock songs, but I think mine was Between the Bars by Elliott Smith.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. And I remember like sitting in my dorm room, like teaching myself how to play it and just like amazed that I could teach myself and like figure out the whole song. So, I'm pretty positive that that was the first song that I like taught myself on guitar. Like before that, I was just kind of strumming and learning chords and whatnot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I love asking that question. I talked to Rustin Kelly, not on the show, but at a Q&A once, and I asked him that question, and he was like, I think it was like maybe like Blink 182. What's my age again? And I was like, oh, respect. And then he like paused, and he was like, all right, I'm totally lying. I know what it was. It was Outside by Stained. He's like, I just didn't want to admit it, and I was like, oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
My first song was Unsung by Helmet. And
Okay.
I swear that that's not like some kind of like hipster thing. It's just that it's in drop D and it's super easy.
Oh yeah, man, that's awesome.
So you start writing your stuff and you put together Going Away. Like did you have like a conscious effort of like, okay, you know what, now I want to just start doing my own thing, like
yeah, I mean, I've always liked doing my own thing since then. Just because I feel like I have so much going on in my head that like it's kind of impossible for me to like just go about my business without needing to create something. So it's been nice to do that. I do wish now that I still had a band to play. Like I need to find somewhere to go play the drums because I really miss playing the drums. But it's always been nice to kind of just be involved in both, like writing and recording my own stuff. Just to like have my own side thing to be motivated about.
Sure. And, you've been quite prolific. I mean, an album a year essentially since 2019, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
actually, I just went to my buddy's last weekend to start recording some new stuff. Just ideas that I've had, in the vault.
Yeah. What does it all start with guitar for you, writing songs, or?
It depends. A lot of the times, like a melody will just come into my head, and I'll just like quick make sure to record it on my iPhone so I don't forget. But yeah, it's usually like a melody that comes to my head, and then I'll write a riff around it. I think I've been working recently with like, especially being able to record at home. I think has been helpful in writing because I can kind of like put it down and then write from there rather than thinking it through and trying to come up with it all in the moment. So I definitely think that's been helpful. But yeah, I would say like normally it's the melody first, then I'll come up with a guitar riff and then go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. The I read in doing my half-ass research that I do, that Flower was a quarantine album.
Yeah, yeah, yep, that was a quarantine album for sure.
It's amazing to me how much awesome shit came out of such a dark time.
Yeah, seriously, man. Speaking of Jason McGovern, I recorded that all like in my apartment, like on my little what's the word for that? The thing that you record on. I'm having a brain fart right now, but like he was involved in that project too, because I would record the tracks and then send it to him, and then he would mix it and master it and stuff. So it was nice to still connect with people on that level during the pandemic, especially doing something that you love.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, like, it's probably no secret, especially to people who familiar with the show and listen to it. But that's how this all got started, and it was really just like I was going nuts in my house, and I needed to talk to other people. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I hear you, man.
Yeah. So, you know, you got to the latest album, Outward Kid. And how long was the like? When did you start kind of writing and working on that?
That actually, I would say I started on that, writing those songs last summer, probably about last July. And I think I started recording in October. And then I finished, like, I wrote an extra handful of songs, like, in during the recording process to, like, round out the entire album. But yeah, I would say probably like a year, a little bit over a year.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, you kind of talk about with the album is kind of, you know, examining kind of darker, you know, topics and stuff like that. Where was the urge to kind of explore that? Where did that come from?
So a huge part of that has to do with me quitting drinking and everything that came about with that, and how I kind of processed my emotions and managed you know, how I go about addressing things. Because I think just about the time it's been a little over a year since I quit drinking. And alcohol has always been like something that's been deeply rooted and paired with like everything that I do, like live music, playing. And I think just taking that factor out of the equation brought up a lot of feelings for me. And it's just, you know, a huge theme of the album is just like breaking out of those toxic cycles of things that are easy to fall back on. But like, once you actually do the work and put in the effort, like you'll see on the other side that things are a lot brighter and a lot, you know, more positive. There are other things to live for and other things that can bring you joy and happiness.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Like my wife and I, we stopped drinking over the pandemic.
Okay.
When everybody started drinking, we
stopped.
Yeah. But you know, and like I'll still have a drink here and there every once in a while, but for the most part, like I don't drink. And you're right. Like it's really interesting to see kind of what comes out of that newfound sobriety. Like,
yeah, for sure.
There's only been like, I really don't ever feel tested, but there are like little things where like, you know, you mentioned live shows, like playing the first time I played a show, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, you know, it was like a moment of like, oh, can I do this sober? I don't know. Like maybe I made the wrong decision. And then oddly, Phillies games gets me too. Like I'm just
that makes sense, man.
Like I'm like I kind of feel like I'm supposed to have beer here, but I don't. But
it's like the perfect storm of factors at a Phillies game that would make you want to drink. I think.
And everybody else is wasted is also a big portion of that, you know,
for sure.
But I will say that like one of the things that I found so helpful has been the fact that they now make non-alcoholic beer that doesn't taste like shit.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've like every once in a while I'll be out like with my friends and they'll be drinking and I'll see they have like an IPA, non-alcoholic IPA. I'm like, it's not half bad, you know? But
yeah.
Seltzer water pretty much gets the job done for me. Seltzer and lime, but
that's perfect. Perfect. So that was like a year ago. So is right around the time when you started writing this, or did you have time to kind of decompress before writing it?
So yeah, these songs are actually like some of the ones I'm most proud of, because it was like once I stopped, and you know, the album's not 100% about me quitting drinking, but it's about I had a friend that passed away. My grandmom passed away, which is has a lot to do with that album and as well. I will say that I am proud of these songs because I'm pretty positive that like every song I've written before this album has had alcohol involved in one way or another, like in the writing process, the recording process, and just the fact that, I wrote all these songs completely sober, and like these songs are probably the most meaningful to me so far. I think that says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And you can hear it. Like you can definitely hear like kind of I don't want to call it pride because that makes it sound weird, like pride is supposed to be bad, I guess. I don't know. But you know what I mean? But like you can hear like kind of the sense of ownership and understanding and like the realization that you are presenting your kind of purest and truest self.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any? So you've played these live a few times. Is there any challenges playing some of the songs live or anything emotionally? I guess I should say.
No, I want to like. I think it's more of like a happy thing for me. Like,
yeah,
it's like I can take ownership of these songs and some of those songs are about like loved ones passing away, but it's like I'm celebrating it in this moment and celebrating like the progress that I've made personally. And it's more about just like owning it and celebration for me, I think.
No, it's fantastic. Like, and like I said, it's an incredible album. Like it definitely bangs, man. Like
Thanks a lot.
I'm a big fan of it. What kind of influence did you have going into kind of like when you went into the studio and you're like, I kind of want this to sound like.
Well, I mean, I do think that like subconsciously, whatever I'm writing at the time is influenced by whatever I'm like binge listening to at the time. But I go through phases. Like Wilco's always in my Wilco's always playing on my playlist. Also, I think I was listening to a lot of Graham Hunt. He's from Wisconsin. He's actually coming to the Yuki Club, I think, in like 2 weeks. But I was listening to a lot of him at the time. But yeah, I would say like I can't specifically remember what it was like that I was listening to, but it tends to be that whatever I'm like have on repeat that week is like what my song is gonna partially sound like a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Wilco. I'm a bit of a Wilco stan myself.
Oh yeah.
We just saw. We went down to DC to the Atlantis, and we just saw Jeff Tweedy do a solo acoustic show in a tiny 450 seat room, and it was transcendent. It was absolutely incredible.
That's actually. I saw him in Brooklyn a few weeks back. Yeah, and that was. Like one of the best shows I've ever been to for sure.
Completely, man.
Yeah. I made sure like I brought my buddy with me and I'm like we're going to get there early. We're going to get like to the front row. He's just like, yeah, all right, that's cool, man. So I was like front and center, just like locked in.
It's so cool. I did get to have a very tiny back and forth with him from the audience.
That's amazing. Man.
Yeah, he was making this whole joke about the people that were at the show the night before, and he was like doing this whole thing about how they all suck and they all, and they were terrible and not like you guys and and then he was like, I don't know. He's like, he's like, in case anybody doesn't realize, I'm just joking. He's like, I say this about everybody, and there was like a little lull. And I was like, wait, does this mean you're going to talk shit on us tomorrow? And he was like, no, not you guys, but yes, totally.
He's funny, man. He's a funny dude. Yeah.
He's so hilarious. And like, I remember the first time I saw him on Parks and Rec. And that was like the first time, like, I was like, oh, you got some jokes, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So, like, what has the response been to the album? Like, what have you been getting good feedback from people, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely like the most buzz I think I've been able to create from any of my projects so far. Just seems like a lot of more people are actually listening. And I don't know if it's because like I got like vinyl pressed. I tried to make it like seem as official as possible. Maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean everyone's been saying that they're really liking the songs and that they can tell that I'm kind of like wearing my heart on my sleeve with this one.
That's awesome, and it's great to be rewarded for kind of, like I said, presenting a true version of yourself. Like
Yeah, for sure.
It's got to feel great.
Yeah, definitely.
You've I obviously had the record release and stuff like that. But playing them out. Are there any kind of shows on the horizon that?
It's funny that you say that because I'm in the process of like I really don't play out too often, like probably once every couple of months, at least. I am in the process of trying to get something together for the fall. But the date that I just had kind of fell through. But
No.
I am looking to schedule something. I'm talking to this guy, Tyler Burkhart from Lancaster. He's a very talented songwriter. Just like everything I listen to from him is like I'm a fan of, which is how I ended up talking to him anyway. But trying to get him on the bill. And I'm going to be trying to find one other person, but hopefully in like October, November. Yeah, I try and have one like once every few months, just so that I'm like not getting too burnt out, and
yeah,
people will be more willing to show up too.
Definitely. Yeah, you can't pollute the market with too many shows because you
for
just
sure.
wear it all thin.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still jamming with other people and stuff like that, like in other projects, or?
Not necessarily at the moment. I did. I mean, this was like a year ago. I did have an opportunity to play a show at the Tisburys. I think this was last summer, but like they just needed someone to fill in on drums, so that was fun. But I mean, I'm looking to find an act to drum with, or I think I'm just gonna start going to the Grape Room open jams again, like every week, just so I can like kind of get that off of my chest. But yeah, nothing at the moment.
Right on. Well, folks listening, you heard that. If you're looking for a drummer, if you're looking for someone you want to do some work with,
I'm your guy for sure.
That's so cool. The so you mentioned you got the vinyl. Did you have any production issues with that? Has that finally, like, that ship finally righted itself? Because I know for a while it was like really, really hard to get a project pressed.
So I went through Studio 4, which is like they're pretty legit. So like I don't really think we ran into any issues. They were real good at like streamlining the process and being very good at communicating everything.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I think I don't really have a reference point, but my process seemed relatively smooth.
That's awesome. What was the experience like the first time you got to drop the needle on your own? Own stuff.
It was fucking awesome, man. That was like a full circle. Like it was just, it's like it's cool because like I have this huge vinyl collection, and honestly, never thought I would be able to have the opportunity to press vinyl. So just the fact that I'm like holding my own record in my hand and able to listen back to it, and all the time and effort I put into going to the studio is like pressed into those grooves. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool experience for sure.
That's awesome, especially like to have something like that is something that is so incredibly personal and kind of dealing with what you dealt with, like and put into it. Like it's amazing to have like just that physical representation of it all.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll have that, for the rest of my life for, give to my kids or whatever, my future family members. And it's just something nice to have.
Yeah, I gotta get my hands on a copy of it.
Yeah, for
I'm a
sure.
big vinyl guy. I'll throw some money your way and have you ship one out.
Hey man, yeah, just let me know. Send me a
It's-
message.
it's so cool. At this time, you want to go through my jauntlet, my questionnaire?
Absolutely, yeah. Let me pull up.
s-
I actually wrote down my answers here.
Oh,
just
cool.
so I didn't forget anything.
This is my fun time thing. This is the 20 questions that I ask every guest. That starts with the first 10 of the one hit wonders. Number one, Billy Joel or Elton John?
I got to go with Elton John on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
I like his swag a little bit more than Billy Joel. I
Okay,
don't know what it
respect.
is. Yeah.
Respect. Number two, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
I said Joan Jett for that one too.
Right on. I always commend people when they pick Joan Jett because she's local. So like it's like giving the local love.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get the side eye. Number three, Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
that one I have Aretha Franklin.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that. That's a no-brainer for me personally.
I don't know if you've been listening to WXPN today, but for Throwback Thursday, it's been today's Aretha's Day, and they've been playing like a lot of like live stuff and all. But they played her doing a cover of "Nothing Compares to You."
Okay.
And it's like super jazzy, and I had never heard it before, and like it became an immediate earworm. Like I was just like, well, how did this exist? And I never knew about it. Like I need to add this to my next playlist or something.
That's amazing.
Like that. It's really great.
Thank you, XPN, for that.
Hell yeah.
That always happens to me when I'm listening to XPN. They tricked me into liking Bruce Springsteen one time, I think.
It's so funny. I went my entire life hating Bruce Springsteen. And then, much like the Grateful Dead, one day I found out that it wasn't that I hated them, it's that I hated people who told me that they loved them. So there's a bunch of bands like that. Like The Cure is another one that for the longest time I didn't like because like every person who told me they love The Cure, I'm like, well, I fucking hate you. So like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's hilarious, man.
The next one, Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
I gotta go with Nirvana on that one. A lot of respect for Pearl Jam, but I feel like if you're gonna pick one over the other, it's got to be Nirvana.
Yeah, you mentioned your mom turning you on to them, and as I said, my mom turned me on to them. It's so weird to me how people find music because it's not as easy as it used to be to like discover things. So like those gifts when someone like just kind of blesses you with with here, check this out, I think it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, it takes all the hard work out of it.
That's
Nice.
exactly right. Yeah, you don't have to dig for it yourself.
Yep.
Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
I put Stevie Nicks for that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
The big one, Beatles or the Stones?
I gotta say the Stones.
Hell yeah.
I appreciate the grit over the Beatles,
Yeah.
It's just a little more my speed, my style.
Yeah, the folks at home are probably sick of hearing me say this, but like the Beatles to me were like a bunch of geniuses who just happened to play music together for a very long period of time or a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But to me, the Stones are just like a band. Like when I think about a band, like it's the Stones.
I know what you mean, man.
And here's a funny story for you. We talked about Questlove earlier. Some dumb, really, really dumb person one time, I used to post on Questlove's message board, and this dumb was like, hey, on the Seed 2.0, you got like a John Bonham thing going on. And like I replied to the guy and I was like, he's not doing Bonham, he's doing Charlie Watts. And Quest replied to it and he was like 100% the Seed 2.0 is me doing my best Charlie Watts.
That's amazing.
So there you go. There's a little Stones
incredible.
Questlove connection for you.
That's awesome, man.
I always got to bring it back to Philly somehow.
Yeah.
The last one of the one hit wonders, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
I got Stairway to Heaven for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another story. I'll actually probably cut this because I think I've told this story probably 900 times on this podcast. But the joke is always the guitar store guy playing Stairway, from Wayne's World.
Yeah.
But for me, my song was always Over the Hills and Far Away. So
Okay.
when I used to work in a music store when I was in high school, and some guy came in and asked to see the 12 string from behind the counter, and I handed it to him, and he like flawlessly started playing Over the Hills and Far Away, and I was just like mesmerized. And like ever since that moment, I was like, that's gonna be my thing.
That's so funny, man.
The next section is the top 10 countdown. In this, I use Jawn. It can be whatever you want it to be. Obviously, you know what fucking Jawn means. I don't know why I'm trying to define it to you, but it doesn't have to be music. It can be anything. So number one, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were younger?
So I actually put this as a since I figured the term Jawn was up for interpretation, I put the first and current Jawn as the guitars that I'm playing.
Yeah.
So I put my first Jawn was a Stratocaster.
Nice.
And then the one I'm rocking right now is a Fender Jazzmaster.
Yeah. So you're definitely a Fender guy. What is it about the Fender that just feels good in the hands?
I guess just reliability.
Yeah.
Yeah. But first Jawn that I was ever like obsessed with was skateboarding for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you good?
I was okay. My friends were better than me, but I wasn't afraid to send it,
Yeah.
afraid to hurt myself.
I was a guy who skated like everywhere when I was younger and could not do a single trick. Like it was a mode of transportation for me, and I hung out with all these people who were phenomenal skateboarders. But I remember I tried a small little tiny quarter pipe one time and fell and was like, never again.
You tried to drop in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was the first time dropping in is like a horrifying experience, and you almost always fall back and smack your head on that.
Yep. Bingo. That's exactly it.
Yep. I will say, the current thing that I'm obsessed with now is fishing because I can't skateboard anymore. Yeah, I love to fish. I feel like since I quit drinking, like I've just like my love for fishing has gone through the roof, and I don't know if it's probably just being outside, and I get to hike around with my friends who that go fishing with me and stuff. So it's a
that's
good time.
awesome. Have you fished your whole life, or?
Yeah, I have. But as of recently, like I think I'm going like probably like every single weekend just to.
Dude, that's awesome.
Out.
Do you have a favorite spot?
I like Wissahickon a lot. The Schuylkill River is it's okay. Catch some nasty fish out of the Schuylkill River.
Yeah.
But yeah, more of those like pretty like hiking spots where you can kind of walk around and take in all the nature and whatnot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was obsessed with fishing in my 20s and kind of got out of it, and only just recently started fishing again because my wife's grandmother owns a bait and tackle shop on the Hudson River. So
nice.
So like when we go on vacation in Cape Cod and stuff like that, we'll go out fishing and all, and it's just like it's the best. Like if you can just find the serenity to just kind of sit and fish and just hang out with people you love and people you enjoy their time with. There's nothing better.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's why I love it so much.
Hell yeah. Number 3, what was your first concert? What was the first live show you saw?
Okay, so the first show I ever saw, I was in 7th grade and I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Nice.
That was their Stadium Arcadium tour. I remember that.
Where was that at?
I think that was at the Wells Fargo Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I can't remember if that might have been the first time I ever saw them live as well.
Okay.
Like, I think was that like right when John Frusciante came back, I think, or
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Mars Volta opened for them. I could be wrong, but okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that was a good show, man. That was
great.
great.
Yeah. So my little seventh grade brain was like sitting there all giddy, just like taking it all in. Everyone was going crazy. It was a good
So
time.
cool.
Yeah.
Number 4, what was the last live show you went to? What was the last concert?
So the last concert I went to was actually last week. I went to see Fish for the first time, which is
Oh,
like,
yeah?
yeah. I went with my cousin who's seen them like 90, I don't know, 95 times, like no exaggeration. Like he's a Fish head for sure. But it was a good time. I didn't really know what to expect, but I think I had a really good time, and I would go see them again for sure.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw Fish was 94, and
Okay.
it was at the Man Music Center, and
Oh, cool.
and it was like a top 10 concert of all time. Like, and I was not even a fan at the time.
Yeah.
I was like just kind of casually, like I had a friend who was same thing. Like I had a friend who was an obsessive, and he was like, "You're going with me to this show," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean they're all right or whatever." And then like, by
Yeah.
the end of the show, I was like, "This is now my life." You know?
Yep. They started playing Fluffhead. I was like dancing like I've been listening to him for the past like 20 years.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
It's a good time.
That's awesome. Number 5, what was your favorite concert? What was the best show you've ever been at?
So this is tied. This is between the Jeff Tweedy show that I saw recently and Kendrick Lamar, who I saw a year ago, I think. But they're tied for different reasons. Jeff Tweedy was like, I was front and center watching my favorite songwriter of all time, like perform. So that was like, you can't
Yeah.
you can't refute that as like not the best concert ever. But Kendrick was like totally blew my mind. Like just the whole production of the show, just like everything that went into it, like the choreographed dancers, and it was like a show. It wasn't just like a music performance. It was like a whole experience. So and I didn't go in thinking that like that was going to be my perspective after I left, but it still is to this day. So
Those are the best kind, the kind that just completely take you off guard, and just like shock the shit out of you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's cool. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They could be living or dead.
So I really still want to see Radiohead live. I had tickets to see them when I was in high school, and my high school graduation was rescheduled because of rain, and the rain date fell on the same day that I had tickets to see Radiohead. So I couldn't go, and to this day I still haven't seen Radiohead, so I really want to make that happen. Yeah.
Damn. I don't know. Like graduation, I kind of might have bailed.
Yeah, I know. I think I like begged my parents to go to the Radiohead concert. They're like, "Nah, you gotta get that diploma."
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn. Name something you wish more people were into.
Ben Queller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Queller is like up there for, he's probably like one of my top favorite songwriters, but I feel like not many people, maybe I just don't know, but it doesn't seem like many people are into Ben Queller. But
no, I think that's 100% true. Like, as a matter of fact, it's so weird that you just said that, because like that was somebody I was obsessed with forever, and right when you said it, I was like, oh shit, what is he up to? Like I just in my head was just like, oh, what the hell? Like
Yeah, you like look him up and he's still like doing like big things, but I feel like nobody really knows about it.
Yeah, that's so weird. That is so weird, because like I feel like 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even longer now. Time is so weird to me. I count the pandemic years as like 1 year, even though it was 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But however long ago it was that I was like constantly well, I still had my iPod, so it had to have been a very long time ago. But yeah, it's so weird that somebody like who was like everywhere, like XPN and stuff like that, played him a bunch and all, and now like I said, I just literally was just like, well, fuck, now I'm gonna have to finish this and go see what he's been up to. Like,
yeah, exactly, man. I don't know what he's up to right now. I should find that out too.
Good answer. Great answer.
Yeah.
Number 8. What's your favorite album?
My favorite album is Summer Teeth by
Yeah.
Wilco. I think it's just because like my brother's friend when I was younger, like told me that I needed to listen to that album, and I like put it off forever. And like eventually I finally listened to it and I like fell in love with the album, and that opened my world to the world of Wilco. And still I just love the album. It's just
Yeah.
got it's just like I think there's what like 10 songs on it and they're all just bangers. So I appreciate it. It's a weird
yeah.
album, but I love it.
You know, it's really funny that's your answer, because I every once in a while I like to throw in like a follow up, just a guest specific one, and my follow up to that was going to be, what's your favorite Wilco album? So like,
Oh, okay.
so you answered it with the answer, so
Yep.
it really worked out. I had this thing that like I came up with, maybe it was like around Christmas time or something like that, where like I wanted to point out, whenever somebody tells me that they're a Wilco fan, I like to try to guess what their favorite Wilco album is.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not great at it, but I am pretty good at it.
It's hard. There's a lot of Wilco material out there.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I never find anybody whose favorite Wilco album is the same as mine, and that is, I am a sucker, and it's wild because like Summer Teeth was it forever.
Yeah.
But Sky Blue Sky is just incredible, and it just blows me away. Like Impossible Germany and the entire solo into the outro is without a doubt my favorite moment in music ever, like of all time. And
this is just it's amazing that you say that, because the answer to my favorite Jawn of all time is Impossible Germany.
Hell
So I
yes!
just wanted to we're just
Spoilers.
answering each other's questions. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I saw when was that? Last November or December, I saw Nels Klein, Pat Sansone, and John Sterrett at Ardmore Music Hall.
Yeah, I was at
You were
that
there?
show too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Autumn Defense, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
cool was that show?
That was so cool, man.
I got to geek out with Charlie Hall from the War on Drugs about that show, because he was there too, and
Nice.
like we were all talking about the song that Yuka did with the oscillator.
Dude, that was, and just the stuff that Nels was doing with, I don't know what he was doing with like his little switches and stuff, but
yeah.
his brain operates on a different frequency for sure.
Yeah, unbelievable. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they put out.
I guess this is getting redundant at this point, but I said Jeff Tweedy. But let me think of another one. My Morning Jacket's a good one.
Okay,
yeah. There's a lot of bands out there that I don't only listen to Wilco, I promise. But
it's all right if you do. You'll have no argument over here.
Yeah. But yeah, I consume. I feel like I consume so much music that when somebody asks me questions like that, I always immediately gravitate towards Wilco because it's the easy answer.
Mhm.
But it's also like I'm obsessed with Wilco, so it is the truthful answer. But yeah, I would say Jeff Tweedy. Anything?
Okay.
he puts out,
100%. So here's a question: have you watched Where Are You, Jay Bennett yet?
The documentary? No, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my God.
My friend keeps telling me to watch it. I need to watch it.
It's incredible. It's a perfect compliment to, if you ever saw I Am Trying to Break Your Heart, the documentary about Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. It's the perfect compliment to that. Like if I were to like screen a music double feature somewhere, that would definitely, those two go hand in hand. But like hearing kind of the Jay Bennett side of the story, essentially, you can I don't want to say that like you see things differently, but you just kind of like understand how perfectly aligned those two guys were for like 2 albums, and then they weren't.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
which is it's sad because like they've created together some of my favorite music that exists. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
like the stuff that Jay
There you
was
go.
doing on
There's that.
Summer Teeth.
He's on AM too. I got my little AM thing
Yeah. Oh,
right
that's so dope.
here. Yeah.
That's so dope. Number 10, favorite Jawn of all time, you said was Impossible Germany. Like that's
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw that live. I was like, I literally going into the show told my friends that I went with, I was like, there is an honest to goodness chance you might catch me cry. I was like, and I did. I had like tears in my eyes. Like it's and one of the things is like I have this weird audio response to like things growing and
Yeah.
and having a release, and it has
Yep.
the best release ever.
Yep. Okay, so we're pretty much on the same page with this because every time I've seen them perform Impossible Germany live and it gets to that dual guitar part, I cry. Hands down. Every single time. I think I've seen Wilco 3 times, and every time that they've performed that, it's just like this response that I have no control over. So I totally understand. It's hilarious that you said that because I was going to tell you the same thing. It does something to me, man. Yeah.
It does. It's fucking a powerful piece of music.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, what's really funny is when we saw him in DC, he did an acoustic version of Impossible Germany, and it just didn't hit like that. Like, it was really weird.
That makes sense, man. Like those guitar, I call them guitarmonies. Like,
yes.
Yeah, the guitarmonies are so fucking beautiful on that song. So I don't see that it would hit the same way just on an acoustic guitar.
Like it started and I got really excited, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like I was like,
it's not evoking the same response.
Yeah. I was like, oh, right. Yeah. Okay. It's the experience, not the song.
Yeah.
I got it.
For sure.
So you said you're working on new music now.
Yeah.
Are you do you have like kind of a target to go in the studio and kick it out, or?
So I mean, I recorded I have like 6 songs like tracked. So I'm kind of just going in with not really a plan.
Yeah.
It's more of just like I have these ideas and I want to get them down and I want to see them completed. I'm sure that I'll write like another handful of tunes like before I'm ready to put whatever it is that I'm gonna put out again, but not necessarily a real target. I mean, I get into these routines where it's like if I go to the studio and I track out all the drums, it's like, oh, okay, well, 2 weeks from now, I want to make sure that I'm ready to go again and I, it doesn't have to be that way, but it's just like how I operate.
How
I
it
guess.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Respect. So if these cool cats and kittens who listen to my show want to find your music or find more about you, what's the best way to track you down on the internet?
So I'd say Instagram is a good one. I'm Ahust1, Ahust1 on Instagram. All my music's on Spotify, all the streaming platforms. I did put out a music video recently, actually. It's on YouTube. It's called Tip the Scale. It's a cowboy themed video. It's fun. I got to ride a horse for a little bit, which was cool. So you can check that out.
I completely forgot to ask you about that because I wanted to know whose horse that was. Like that's almost like a flex. You got a horse in your video.
It was it was at this place called Wild West City in New Jersey. It's like an amusement park, and I ended up like having this idea for a cowboy theme. So the horse just came with the package. So I couldn't tell you the last time I've sat on a horse. So it was cool. It's a cool experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the entire Western theme of the video is great. So definitely, if you're out there listening to this, check that out. It's a great video and a great song.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. And not just that, but for an awesome conversation and for the awesome music that you create. Like the world is a better place due to the tunes you have put together.
Thanks, man.
So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This has been like such a cool experience. Appreciate it.
My many thanks again to Andrew for joining me on the show today. Outward Kid is available now on all major streaming services and is available for purchase on vinyl on Andrew's Bandcamp page at andrewhouston.bandcamp.com. And the Western theme video for his single Tip the Scale is up on YouTube. Links to all of those are in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo That's My Jawn podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. And guys, it is never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for Citizenship of the World just by rating and reviewing us. Shouts out to Sharon Miller and Dave Mack just for joining us on the Jawn Scouts. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight into your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Thanks again for listening and for everything you guys do. On the next episode, I was blessed to be able to talk to one of the major inspirations for this very show. Someone I've been trying to get on here for over 2 years now, so you will not want to miss that one. #goals. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be...
Yo That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.